Good morning, guys. It's the morning of the drop.
Good morning, everyone.
I've got Pam up nice and early. It's currently about 7:30 a.m. and I am appropriately dressed, but I'm not going to be wearing all this for the thing. I've got a bag that I'm going to give to Pam, but I'm taking my camelback with waterproof trousers, a waterproof coat, I've got my gloves, I've got my shirt, I've got my undershirt, I've got my shorts, my under leggings, and some running socks, and obviously my running shoes as well.
Guys, he's not gonna tell you this. He couldn't sleep last night. He was that excited.
No, I was fine. It took me a little bit.
So excited.
It took me a little bit longer to get to sleep than usual. I was hyped. I am hyped.
He even packed everything like last night. That's not like Jason. Like he was overly prepared, and I'm like, that is not you.
Absolutely not. Nah. But yes, I did get everything ready last night. Apart from my water, for some reason. Apparently I wasn't going to have anything to drink today.
But that's why you've got me to remind you of stuff like that. So now you've got water, you're prepared. I think you're kind of like over-prepared, but you know, that's good. How are you feeling anyway?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. It'll be good. It's just...
Today's the day.
It just needs to warm up.
He's been talking about this drop for absolutely months and months now. So I'm glad that today is finally the day he can get it done. Well, we'll see if he can get it done.
Yeah, thanks.
Actually,
Confidence.
something I didn't actually expect is the fact that there's a tracking link, because I thought that I would have to be in the physical store for God knows how many hours to like be checking where Jason is, but I can track him online, so I can do my own things while he's out and about God knows where, and then I can just come back and collect him in one piece.
Seriously, she doesn't even need to watch. She can just watch on her phone.
I did kind of thought that it's like on Hunters, that there is like
a cameraman.
Like a cameraman. With Jason.
How much?
See everything.
Yeah, the entry for that would be like what, a couple hundred, I think. So I think that would be out of my budget there. So we made it to Manchester City Centre eventually. So the tram went 2 stops, and then we had to get off, and there was a replacement bus. And we didn't want to risk taking a bus because buses take ages, famously, compared to trams. So we had to get a taxi, and we got a taxi. We met this lovely man who's going to see his team, FC United, in Newcastle. We got in the taxi, put the pinpoint down, and the pinpoint was in the wrong place. So he took us to a completely different place from where the actual shop is. We're on the street now. This is Deansgate. We're going to be there in 2 minutes. Hello, you're thank you.
One GPS track that just needs to go in an outside pocket of your accident.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, cool.
Bib number, wear that wherever you are comfortable. Don't be piercing pins through a brand new waterproof jacket. Face mask, I'll explain that when you get on the bus. You're doing the 15 mile.
Yep, that's right, and I need that.
Yep, and that bag there is all your tech, your watch, your phone, absolutely anything that ID you can use for navigation purposes goes in that bag there. It's sealed when we get on the bus, you take it with you. And we'll do a full briefing when you're on the bus. The bus will be here.
Should we go fun? 42. So when you're on the map, you track the 42. It's fine. Nobody's taking photos on the course, at least this time. Until we're supposed to be setting off. Coach isn't here yet, but I'm looking snazzy. Oh, there you are. And then I need to set my watch going.
It's only 7.
So this is the coach for people that do 10 miles, and this is the coach for 15-mile people. To be honest with you guys, I don't actually know how far away is 15 miles, like from city center. Like, I don't know where he's actually gonna end up. If you guys got any ideas where he might be, drop them in the comments below and let's see if you were right by the end of this video. Obviously, once he's gone, I'm gonna be following him on the tracker. If you follow Jay on Instagram, he did post the story with like the live link, so you can also like track him along and see where he is right now. But yeah, I'm actually curious, very curious. Once he's close by, I will obviously come back here and kind of try to wait for him on the finish line. But yeah, it would be very interesting to see how long that's gonna take him, because I actually asked him how long he might be, but I guess he doesn't know himself, does it? And so that was probably quite a stupid question on my part. But yeah, he might be there for 2-3 hours. I think the cutoff is 4 or 5 hours, so yeah, we will see. But he's almost gone. I guess that's it. He's now gone. It means I can go as well, do my things, and then I can come back when he's closer to the finish line. Probably in about, my estimation is 4 hours, maybe? I don't know.
So the GoPro I borrowed on the day, it turns out, did not have a great mic and sounded a bit like this.
I've got my blindfold on, but I haven't got my blindfold on yet. I'm still next to the actual place.
So I'm here in post to go over what happened on the day, and I'll show you the clips on here. So we had a briefing on the coach before we set off. Our Manchester event was their biggest ever event with 2 coaches. First one had all of the 15 milers on, including myself, and quite a few 10 milers as well, with the second coach having just exclusively 10 milers. I learned at the end there were about 12 different teams doing the 15 miler, consisting of groups and solo runners like myself. We popped our blindfolds on and the journey began. I honestly think I fell asleep on the coach because it didn't feel like a 45-minute journey. We dropped the 10 milers off their start point, and then we drove onwards to the 15 miler start point, all fully blindfolded. When we arrived, we were allowed to take our blindfolds off, and we were looking at what could only be described as the moors. Everyone was like, ooh, and I'm looking outside. I was like, I think this is like, I'm already in my head trying to work out where it is. I'm like, I think this is like East Manchester, the moors, sort of towards that way, towards Yorkshire. People getting off the coach, people going left, straight out of the doors, people going right. Quite a large group of people got off and went right, so I just decided to go left. Yeah, for that reason, really. So I went to the back of the coach just to see if I could work out where I was. There was a group of people that were going up a hill that had gone right. They were gonna go up a hill, try to see where they are. As soon as I got to the back of the coach, that's when I saw it. I saw the M62 and I knew exactly where it was. It was near the Saddleworth Mark junction of the M62. Journey I take to go back home to Leeds to go to band practice. I drive on that road almost every week or bi-weekly. A team of 2 had already started running like in that general direction, so I can only think that they'd already figured it out basically. So I tried to basically get on their heels and not catch up to them but keep pace with them. This meant that I started a little bit too fast, and even like, because I was going up a hill as well, and I was like, after the first 200 meters I was like that's the thing, I can't really look at my watch, so I don't know how fast I am actually going, but I imagined at that point I was probably pushing like 430 pace just to get up this hill and keep up with these guys. In my head I'm like, no, this is literally not a marathon, but it's over a half marathon distance. It's not a sprint. So I run all the way up this road, and looking back, a couple of other teams had also followed us, probably as soon as they've realized what was going on. Coming up to the top, we reached the actual junction for the M62, and I was overtaken by a couple of other groups of 2 going up the hill, just people who are more practiced and fitter than me. So these 2 groups that were ahead of me at this point, they decided to go right at the junction, which would take them kind of more towards Rochdale, and And in my head, I'm like, I'm sure that's going to be quite a long way. While I wasn't 100% if going up the big hill towards Saddleworth Moor was the best option, I decided to make my own way, let them go that way, and I started going straight up the hill towards Saddleworth. Hill number 2, quite a steep one, and I was trying to, again, like kind of pace myself a little bit. Halfway up the hill, I looked back, and there were 2 teams that had followed me this direction. I also got talking to the first group of people that eventually passed me up this hill. Really nice guys, both wearing orange. That's as much as I can remember. Obviously, they just carried on. Again, they were a lot fitter than me. They just carried on going up the hill, and there was a couple behind me as well. We got to a false summit on this hill, and there was a turn to go right, and these guys were looking to go down this little track, and they said that you could get a view of Manchester from the top here, and you can see exactly which direction you should be going in. I was like, I thought maybe they would be right, but in my head, I wanted to like make my own way. I wanted to make my own decision. So I decided, no, what I'll do, I'll stay on this road and actually go up to the top. Even though it seemed like it was veering a little bit away from where in my head I thought Manchester was, I decided to follow the road anyway. The couple that were behind me actually followed me. I then reached the top of this hill where I'd actually stopped once on the way home from a gig and eaten pizza with Pam. It was a little car park area with a little cafe just in the middle of this B road. That's when I saw it, Manchester skyline, and it was directly on the road I was running on. So at this point in the race, I was in front. I was first. I was mind blown, and I was a little bit sad that another group had followed me. Another couple had followed me, but apart from me and the 2 behind me, we were the only people on what I considered at that time the most direct route. Now, I was pretty sure that this B road would take us straight towards Oldham, and in my head I'm like, right, so we need to head towards Oldham, and then we need to head into Manchester from there. So in my head it was kind of like, I knew there'd be some decisions regarding going left or right at some point, but I knew if I followed this road, I'd get a bit closer. I ran the next couple of miles just on the main road, gradually leaving them behind, but at this point I could tell I wasn't as trained as I should be. I needed to slow down, and I knew I had so much distance left to cover. I started walking, but when I reached a big downhill section, they managed to catch up with me, and we were in a village called Denshaw at this point. They overtook me, and they carried on the main road. Now, I decided, as the crow flies, Manchester was sort of straight ahead of me, so I decided to veer off the road and take a shortcut. I followed this public footpath down, and I ended up in a field, and at this point I really should have turned back, but in my head I was already too far gone. Now, if I know what I know now, knowing what I know now, it would have just been easier to backtrack and get back on the main road. I ran over the field onto what became the most boggiest footpath ever, and that opened up onto an actual bog. My feet were soaked, and somehow I lost the footpath in the bog. I was just following a point where somebody had obviously just carved their own way through the grass, and not small grass. This was like tall grass, and it was getting denser and denser and denser. I reached a point where I was actually just carving my own way through this field, this bush in a bog, and I found an abandoned fence. I took a very precarious leap over this very mossy, very wet, very slippery abandoned fence. Absolutely not the smartest move, and I knew it at the time. I was cursing myself. I spotted the footpath I was supposed to be on. I battled my way over to it, and I climbed a little bank to get onto it, basically. So finally back on the muddy footpath, I followed it up to a main road, which was a road that had split off earlier in the village before, completely negating the effort that I put in to get through this hell. I found a bus stop map and realised that this road was going completely in the wrong direction, which would take me miles off course and would add miles to my journey. But I continued on and hoped that I'd find a public footpath that would go right back towards the other main road. I did find one. It took me downhill, zigzagging towards a river in a valley. Luckily, there was a little bridge that went over it, and then I started ascending a hill. At this point, looking up, I knew I'd have to climb to get back on track. Footpath took me onto a farmer's field, No idea where the footpath went. I didn't know if I was supposed to go left or to go right. So I decided to go up into a field with horses in it and farmers' equipment. It was a very steep hill. And I just thought if I go towards the buildings that I could see up the hill, then there'll be a way to get onto the road. I'm not sure the video captured just how steep this was, but it was like, it was steep. Luckily, I meandered my way around and eventually found a gate onto a driveway leading up to a road. Still climbing, took a right and immediately saw another public footpath. Initially, I got onto the public footpath and then decided that I'd had enough of public footpaths and just rejoined the road. I knew where the road was going. It might not have been the most direct route, but I'd have more speed in getting there. I finally got to the top of the hill, followed the road around, and rejoined the road I would have been on if I'd have not taken the footpath and the road that the 2 other runners had taken half an hour earlier, and would have probably taken them about 10 minutes to do. Probably not even that. So that was a nightmare. I had lost 20 to 30 minutes, maybe even more. And knowing the other 2 had taken the right route, I was certain that the lead was way out of my hands. So the focus was not to be in the top 3, but to just finish before cut off. Joining the road, I knew where I was. It was a straight shot, even though it was probably still about 10 to 11 miles. I knew the direction I needed to go in, and I knew which roads I needed to follow to get to Oldham. I know there were going to be a few questions about getting around Oldham and which road to leave Oldham on, but if I could get to Oldham, I know I'm pretty much on the home straight. It was pretty straightforward from there, to be honest. Straight down through Moorside, and take a right at Waterhead onto the A62 into Oldham. Oldham Town Centre ended up being pretty straightforward too. However, I wasn't 100% sure which road to take once I'd got through the town centre. So I just headed straight through and in the general direction of Manchester, hoping that that would kind of present itself. I took a bridge over Oldham Way and found a sign that advertised a cycling route for Manchester, and it said 7 miles. Brilliant. However, at this point, my knees were killing. I followed these signs for a cycle route through a housing estate, hoping to find the main road that would take me straight towards Manchester. Reached Worneth Park. To my right, I saw what I know now is the rest of the A62. And when I got onto the A62, I knew I could just follow this road straight into Manchester City Centre. It was still quite a distance away. My knees were absolutely killing, and I realised at this point I hadn't brought any painkillers at all, which really sucked. Every single turn I seemed to take revealed another long stretch, and every step just got more and more painful. Eventually I crossed the M60, and I was kind of hoping this would be the final stretch, but as you can see, the M60 actually is quite far away from the city centre. I don't have a lot to say about the remaining distance. A lot of it feels like a blur at this point. I just remember keeping an eye on the time, trying to make sure I reached cut-off. I asked a stranger just on the outskirts of the city centre for the time, and I thought I had just half an hour left. Through the pain, I gritted my teeth, and I finally made my way into the northern quarter of the city centre. With it being a Saturday, it was absolutely packed, passing all of the people out having a fantastic time, and I envied them. I ran down the packed market street. There was actually a protest on that day, so I swerved onto the back streets, where I passed another 2 runners who were actually doing the 10-miler. I turned onto Deansgate, I went down, and the end was in sight. I burst through the door and rang the bell at the end to signify the end of my journey back. The race director was lovely. He congratulated me and then raised his eyebrows and he said, "You were doing the 15-miler, right?" I said, "Yep, that's me." And then he told me I had come second. So, where was everyone else? Yes. Hello.
Hello, you've made it!
I came second.
What do you mean?
Came second. I ended up in a bog at one point, and I ended up climbing a hill. I ended up hiking, and I still came second. So after all that, a massive route diversion, all of the others had gone over towards Rochdale and taken a longer route to get back. I was actually looking at the GPS tracking for everyone, and the team that came third arrived a minute after me. And looking at the GPS tracking, he was behind me for the last stretch. They were catching up, but I managed to get in the shop without realizing they were that close behind. They got in the shop a minute after me. And of course, the team that beat me were the two that went the right way when I went down the public footpath. They were 40 minutes faster than me. So given that, I'm not sure if I would have really contended with them anyway, but who knows, maybe I'd have done it. Then I went to the pub for a well-deserved pint. Overall, I would rate the drop 10 out of 10. It was exactly what I'd hoped it'd be. The organisers were lovely, and I'd definitely do another one. I was looking at Leeds, as it is my hometown, and I think I'd know my way around pretty well, so we'll see if I can try for a podium place there. Thank you for watching. You've been watching Only Just Jay. I appreciate you all. Please leave a like and subscribe, and if you can, please donate to my London Marathon fundraiser. That will mean the world. We're hoping to get to the £2,500 mark by race day, and we're currently on £439. I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao.